Hello everyone, my name is Xochitl Cruz and this is my presentation on empathy. Examples of empathy in the New Testament. I think the greatest example of empathy in the New Testament is definitely Jesus. The one most important thing is how he came to earth in human form to offer us eternal salvation. Jesus experiences life on earth as a human. He becomes empathetic with humanity. He relates to us and we relate to him. The ultimate sign of empathy is definitely the crucifixion, death, and resurrection of Jesus on the cross. So, what are specific examples of empathy that I found in the Bible? The first one is in Romans 12:15, where it says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep." It is definitely easy, I would say, to rejoice when times are good, and it definitely is hard to weep when times are difficult, but we are called to live life together in good times and in bad. Another important aspect to consider is to make sure that we're watchful of our own feelings and sentiments. We need to make sure that we don't become resentful, which can happen when we're dealing, especially with sad moments. So we definitely need to be aware of our emotions and our feelings and how we're connecting to other people, especially in moments of crisis. Another example that I found in the Bible that talked about empathy is the story of the woman that had the issue of blood. The word says that she had an issue that lasted for over 12 years, that there was no medical cure. And definitely, we know that she was banned from her town, her society. Nobody would talk to her, nobody would touch her. So we definitely know that there wasn't any empathy toward her in her in the place where she lived. So that definitely is one aspect. Another thing that we see here is just the treatment the disciples have, maybe not so much with her, but with Jesus, when he feels her touching his cloak and he feels power coming out of him, and she's immediately healed. And Jesus asked the question, "Who touched me?" And the disciples, kind of in a condescending way, say, "What do you mean, who touched you? There's a multitude." It's almost like they didn't know that Jesus knew what would happen, that Jesus understood what was happening to that woman. And we just see an attitude here that is not the best attitude to have towards someone who is seeking healing and knows that Jesus will heal her. And then the attitude that they had with Jesus as well. So to me, this verse speaks of empathy in several ways, negative and positive. Another biblical event that I would assimilate with empathy is definitely the seat of judgment. We know that one day we will all stand before the Lord to confess our sins, and I think if anywhere, this is definitely where He shows us empathy toward us as His children, because as we stand before him, we will not be condemned. The price has been paid, but we will have to stand before him, confess our sins, and receive what is due to us. But again, he didn't need to do this. He has already paid the price, but in his empathy and in his love, he has not only paid the price, but he's offering us eternal salvation. Definitely, this verse is in Romans 14:10, and it starts off, "You then, why do you judge your brother or sister? Why do you treat them with contempt? For we will stand before God's judgment seat." Again, this time will come to all of us. We will all be there. This verse explains it perfectly. So, aside from God being born a man, he rose from the dead. He's giving us eternal salvation. And this is definitely an aspect of empathy and mercy that he has towards us. Again, in that day of judgment, that we will not be condemned, but that we will be able to give an account of our lives. So, my personal faith and my personal opinion on empathy through my faith is definitely, I feel I've been tested the last few years of my life. I feel there's been a lot going on, um, but I am 100% sure that all the things that have been happening are for a reason and that God is using everything to prepare me. I was not an easy decision to choose counseling, but I felt the call and I felt God using all those things to prepare me as I move forward, and not only in this new season of my life as a counselor, but also in my personal life and with my family and with my ministry and in my work and pretty much everything I do. So I do believe God has allowed me to go through certain things so that I can grow and learn, that I can use these moving forward in my life. So, what does neuroscience say about empathy? Um, as I read chapter after chapter, um, I just see so many uh, things that I need to consider. Um, Definitely something to really consider is how God uses every aspect of who we are to show empathy to those around us. My facial expressions, my words, my um, tone of voice, my posture, my movements, everything comes together to connect and empathize with those around me. And again, this is not only in my line of work that I have chosen, but also in my life. It is amazing how our brain works and how all the information we see before us, that we feel, that we sense, it just all comes together um, to mimic those around us, and it just works to create that empathy that we're called to have towards each other. So I just think it brings it all together, not only in the spiritual, but in the physical and the emotional. So, definitely, there's a lot more research that still needs to be done. There's a lot of things that are still not understood, but in our humanity, we definitely do know that we are created to be in communion, and we are created to um, live in harmony, live together, work together. So definitely, I think that this concept of emotional contagion and moving forward, how it affects us is very interesting. Um, so this is my presentation. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed this class so much, and I hope you enjoy my presentation as well. Thank you very much.